You and I with Rashmi Shetty is a simple attempt of bringing in stories of people you and I can draw inspiration from. Ordinary folks, extraordinary lives. Their uniqueness and individuality that make them interesting to talk to and to listen to. A reaffirmation of the fact, open your eyes wider. The world is far more beautiful when we acknowledge the presence of both you and I. Our guest today is Major R.D Bhargava, an alumnus of Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi, and the Indian Military Academy, Dehradun. During an illustrious career of over 21 years in the Indian Army, the Regiment of Artillery, he held various positions, including the position of Deputy Director in the NCC Directorate, Karnataka and Goa. An HR leader and a learning facilitator, he is a qualified interpreter of the Chinese language. A keen enthusiast in adventure activities, he has the distinction of leading 2 expeditions in the Western Himalayas in 1988 and 89. He has over 22 years of work experience in the private sector enterprise, in manufacturing, engineering design and consultancy, IT, organized retailing sector, construction, and management education in various leadership roles. Welcome, Major R.D Bhargava, to You and I with Rashmi Shetty. I just realized that I've always known you as Major Bhargava and was intrigued. I've never asked you your first name. So can we start with your name and then go on your journey?
Rashmi, coming to your question about my name, it is a very interesting, I would say a small story, because I've come across this question several times at several places, especially when I was in North India and especially when I meet my North Indian colleagues, because Bhargava is a surname for a certain set of people hailing from Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. Yeah. But this is not my surname, this is my first name. Actually, it is Bhargava Rama Devaraya Durga. Devaraya Durga is our ancestral place from where our ancestors migrated to Bangalore. And my great-grandfather is actually a street, the 4th main in Malleshwaram was named after him. He was a legal luminaire and he was honored by Mysore Maharaja with 2 villages. So my grandfather inherited that and was known as Jodidhar. So because Jodi Grama means 2 villages. So that is the kind of people they were. Though, of course, only the memories remain because there was a huge mansion on 4th Main Road. It was named as Kalanidhi, where my grandfather's family lived. It is no longer existing. One of the 3 sons of my great-grandfather. My father had his education in Bangalore and then joined the education service. His first appointment was a high school headmaster. So he got married in 1950 and 1951 I was born. When I was born, I was to be named. My paternal aunt, who was studying Visharda and MA in Samskrita, thought that I should be named after Parashurama. Parashurama, famous for his valor and of course his anger also. But the kind of decision he took of beheading his own mother. So that kind of strong personality, what she thought I should become. And she wanted me to name Bhargava Rama because my name was to start with the letter Bha. But after it was recorded in my school documents and then subsequently completed my preliminary education and applied for services selection board, they renamed, they said, your name is not as per the sequence. So they named me as Rama Devaraya Durga Bhargava, R.D Bhargava. So Bhargava Rama Devaraya Durga became R.D Bhargava, Cadet R.D Bhargava, Major R.D Bhargava. That is how the name stuck. And usually, most of the people address me as Major. I said, Major is just a rank. There are n number of people who held that rank, who are holding that rank, serving, retired, and those who are elsewhere. So Major does not connote a particular person. Major is just a rank which we wear on our shoulders and which is a title for us granted by the President of India. My identity is I am Bhargava. For everybody, I am Bhargava. And since I enjoy holding a rank or I held a rank and it goes with my life, Major Bhargava, please address me as Major Bhargava. And that is how it is going. So that is the story behind my name.
You
But
know
then,
what
Rashmi,
intrigues me, Major Bhargav? The fact that I thought maybe you have a precedence with an inspiring father in the defense force, or an uncle or a grandfather. And from whatever you've told us till now, nobody seems to have a defense connect. What made you choose the defense forces? As a little boy, did you see someone? Were you inspired by someone? Can you take us back on what drew you to the defense forces?
absolutely, Rashmi, this is a very good question. And nobody had asked me this question. Perhaps people even didn't think about it. And I think it is a very apt and a relevant question because, like you rightly said, here now people have got a kind of awareness about the defense services, and a lot of people have started taking up defense services as a career. So there is, and also various campaigns that we had, various wars that our country fought, some kind of awareness has set in. Otherwise, people still do not know, they cannot differentiate an army person from a BSF person or somebody serving in CRPF. So that is the kind of awareness. It was still worse, in our younger days. So I never thought of joining the army for wildest of my imagination. But it happened. It all happened because I was presented with a challenge. The challenge I faced was I scored very high percentage of marks. In those days we were studying 3 languages: Kannada, Hindi, and English. And in my 10th standard matriculation, I scored a rank in the subject. I think I was second or third in the Kannada, and I was, I think, 9th rank in English, and Hindi, of course, was not considered. So I had a flair for languages, and when I did this kind of thing, and I wanted to take up humanities, everybody who knew me from my childhood discouraged me from taking up humanities. You have to become a doctor, you have to become an engineer, or you have to study science, graduate, and then join the central services. So there was a very high pressure. My parents were subjected to a lot of pressure that don't encourage you to take up. What will you do after completing BA honors? Will you become a college lecturer? Isn't he capable of doing much more than that? So when I was presented with that, then with the percentage of marks I had scored, I was able to get an admission in National College in Basangudi in Bangalore, which is considered, those days also, it was considered to be a college of very high academic standard. Since I came from a rural background, like I told you, my father was a headmaster, high school headmaster, and my childhood began in Malleshwaram. I was born in 1951, and in 1953, my younger brother was born. I was taken to my grandfather's place, my paternal grandfather's place in Malleshwaram. There, only 4 members were present in the family: my grandparents, my grandfather, my grandmother, and 2 younger sisters of my father. The first younger sister was studying in MA, and the other one was studying in BA. So all the 4 of them were highly disciplined. They would get up very early in the morning. My grandfather used to get up at around 4:30 in the morning. Then you take bath and then do his morning prayers, and followed by my grandmother and my aunts. And all of them washed their own clothes. My grandparents, my aunts. So they were all self-reliant and very less, we used to have conversation, but not loud. So I grew up like that. So thereafter, I was put in a school in Malleshwaram, where the majority of them were girls, and more girls as my co-students. And I grew up in a very artistic thing, that music, singing, dancing, drama, and all that. And it was good. I was known to be a very brilliant boy. I scored very high percent. Then my father thought, and I should be with them. So I was taken to the place where my father was posted, in a place not too big. When I went there, that was a culture shock. I went to a village. I came from Bangalore, studying in a very good school. So I was my standard was very high. So that was the first cultural shock. I got some of, but the other things were very interesting. We were exposed to Sanskrita we were exposed to, of course, that I did in Malleshwaram also, and it was good. So thereafter, my father got transferred to another place, and the academic system was changed. And my younger brother, who was in 7th standard and I was in 8th standard, both of us came to join the high school together because they abolished the 8th standard. In that, it's not a village, it is a taluk headquarters. We had a fairly big place, a lot of temples, a lot of community of people who were in Vedic studies. So Samskrita, and thereafter, 3 years later, we were in a different place in Chikmagalur district. There, a little more development took place. But there, the prominence was given to Hindi. In the previous place, we were taught Amara Kosha, then Veda Patha, and then we qualified in some exams also. And here in this place, next place, we were exposed to Hindi. And when I was in the 9th standard, I completed Rashtra Bhasha and I was preparing for Visharada. So I had a fairly good grounding in some Kannada, Samskrita, and Hindi. And English came, as a byproduct, and we studied English. And my father encouraged me to take part in essay writing, debate competitions, and we grew up with cows in our household. And for getting the feed, my father used to send me along with the peon to different places. I was maybe 11 years old. I traveled here, and then thereafter I traveled wide for taking part in various competitions also, essay competitions, debate competitions. And I remember in I think it was in 1963 or so, 1964, I don't know, centenary celebrations of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Swami Vivekananda was organized by Ramakrishna Ashram, Mysore. So they called for essay competition, and 4 students were selected from each district, and I stood first in the district. I participated in that. I got a prize there in the centenary celebration. So my grounding was into language, literature, and more so in literature and all the 3 in linguistics. As we were growing up, my father felt this village is not adequate for giving him good exposure, so let us send him to a better place. So I was sent to a place called Malladihalli in Chitradurga district, where there was an ashram and ashram run high school. It was a boarding school. And I tell you, it could put any prison to shame. The students were made to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and 4:30 we would assemble for Surya Namaskara, 4:30 to 5:30 Surya Namaskara, then again freshening up, and then have breakfast, and then morning PT, and then go to school.
This is what, 8th standard? 8th, 9th standard?
I had reached 10th standard.
10th, okay.
So it was very rigorous, but I was a very bright student. In spite of all that, it was a great setback because I was fed on cow's ghee, cow milk at home, and all good goodies. And there we used to be fed with jowar mudde, and some kind of dal.
So the discipline came into your life right from the time of your grandparents' home that you stayed in till the 10th standard when you were put into the school. So yes, discipline just became part and parcel of your life.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But till then, there was no resentment.
Okay.
There was no rebellion, in me. It was part of my life. But here, some kind of rebellion, generated, because everything was, like they used to discipline us with a stick. So we used to, like ringmasters. So that made me a little, is it necessary? Why should we take all this? So it was kind of there, but it did not manifest. So after that, because of my background in Ramakrishna Ashrama centenary celebrations, in Bangalore, when I reached I completed my 10th standard and was required to join the college for pre-university, my father thought I should be in a hostel. So he said, apply for an admission somewhere, join a hostel. And the closest hostel for National College was Ramakrishna Vidyarthi Mandira. And that they openly welcomed me because I had that tag that I was a prize winner of essay competition. I knew about Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Swami Vivekananda, and all that. They were very happy to accommodate me there. And that was a very, very glorified prison. Everything is very spick and span, of very high standard. But everything, like in that framework of discipline. Routine did not change much. Instead of 4:30, we would get up at 5:30. 5:30 to 6 o'clock to 6:45 PT, and then breakfast, and then by 8 o'clock we would be off for the college. Then have lunch, have sports in the afternoon in the game. When we came back from college, most of it, 99%, we would come back to the hostel, didn't go anywhere. And after the sports, then again in the evening, morning prayer. Of course, I forgot about the prayer. 5:30 to 6 o'clock was the prayer. Very good prayer, very soothing, with all the instruments and all that. It's very nice. And evening again, from 6:30 to 7, we used to have the prayers, or 7 to 7:30. Then 7:30 to 8:30, compulsory we used to sit, we had to study, and then 8:30 we would be allowed for dinner. 9 o'clock we would assemble in our recreation room, play carom, tennis, or listen to the radio. 9:30 we would be back in the 1 year National College.
Oh my
National
God.
College,
So
it was again.
seems like life prepared you for a life in defense.
No, I never imagined that it would lead me into defense. What happened in the college was, since I had attended classes only in Kannada medium, National College of being of that high standard, everything was in. Most of the students either came from National High School or from other parts of the city or from English medium. So most of the conversations used to take place in English, and the science subjects, it just flew over my head. I just couldn't take it. In the language classes, Kannada and English, I used to be very well. I used to be very good, but science, it just didn't. It didn't. I couldn't take it at all. And somehow time passed, and again the story repeated. I got 83% in Kannada, 78% in English, and admission percentage in physics, chemistry, and mathematics. So what to do? Then my mother's cousin was the head of the Department of Physics. He had seen me there in the college. He said, no, the boy is not bad. He needs some kind of prodding and coaching, and he'll do well. Allow him to study it once again. So in that intervening period, the very next month after the results were announced, it started bugging me. What will I do for 1 full year? Again, going through the same rigmarole of studying science. I can't do that. So as luck would have it, there was an advertisement in the newspaper calling for candidates to join as apprentices. Apprentices for various, telecommunication, engineering, instrumentation, engineering. But I was good, mending things, stripping the bicycle, stripping the clock, stripping the radio, and assembling it again. I used to do all those things. So I thought apprenticeship is good. So let's see. I don't have to study much. Let me do some technical work. And I applied for it, and I was called for an interview in Bhopal. And when I went to Bhopal, there I saw what the life it was for joining the army as an apprentice. Then I thought, this is the do or die question. On one hand, I'll get humiliated. On the other hand, the intimidation of studying science all over again. So I said, no, nothing to it. I did very well in the entrance exam also, and in the interview also, I stayed back. So 3 years of apprenticeship diploma in telecommunication engineering, look where I landed up. And thereafter, I was absorbed in the army, and I applied for Services Selection Board. And that was the best part, the 3 years of studying for a degree and then 1 year in the Indian Military Academy, that changed my whole life. It gave me some purpose. It gave me some, reason to be doing well, excelling and performing well, and then enjoying life. 1 year I spent in the Indian Military Academy was the best time of my year. For all that, that frustration and the rage that had built in me, it got vented. It was released in these 3 years in degree course and 1 year in the Indian Military Academy. I became a totally transformed person, but the fact remained that I was into artillery, which involved a lot of technical subjects and science subjects. Again, it was bothering me a lot. So that is how I landed up in the army.
Okay. So you said that 1 year in IMA was your most memorable year. Can you take us through that 1 year, which transformed you to become who you became?
It actually transformed, more than transforming me, it kind of prepared me for leading a good quality of life. see, apart from the training which one is exposed to for making them good leaders and good commanders, it also kind of inculcates certain habits, and it's certain it changes way of thinking. So it helped me in transform this. First thing is our physical toughness and mental agility that gets built, and physical to the extent that we just give up. Yes, I'm gone, but then we'll open our eyes and say, no, that is the destination. Yes, we can make it. So we motivate ourselves. We muster all the strength and then move on. And mental agility, taking decisions, quick decisions, those things, and leadership quality. You see, we have a very great bonding among ourselves, among our teammates and our course mates, and that kind of camaraderie, that kind of team bonding and working in a team. And see, the appointments are also given in rotation. So today I am just a cadet. I'm one of the team member of the team, and tomorrow I'll be holding an appointment of a little higher responsibility. Again, I come back to the team as a regular cadet. So that rotation is holding the position of authority, holding the position of decision making, and leading people, and that also helps a lot to both behave as a leader and also being a team member. So that and the quality of life. See, we have to be immaculately dressed, and we have to conduct ourselves the most dignified way, the most professional way, and we have to be highly disciplined. Our morale and integrity cannot be compromised at any cost, at all costs. And also, we have to show exemplary courage. We have to have exemplary courage, and physically we have to maintain certain level of strength, physical stamina, so that we are not let down by our own self. And like that, apart from that, we are also taught the military psychology, the military history, military law. So that gives the grounding for becoming a good commander, platoon commander. And apart from that, certain various other aspects of our scenario around us, the international scenario and our current affairs and all that, horse riding, then of course weaponry. So all that, and then the way we carry ourselves, move around with confidence, and then we march smartly. We move from one place to another marching well, and then we conduct ourselves in that dignified manner with our instructors, with our team members, our colleagues. And so that that transformation, it from a just ordinary adolescent and a teenager becomes a responsible class 1 gazetted officer. So that is the transformation which takes place in IMA, and the kind of food we get, the kind of the way it is presented to us, and then we have it. So everything, there is not one particular thing which is so impressive and which others are not. Everything is exemplary there. So that is the experience I had in the Indian military academy. And of course, the sports and competitions, we just die for our company banner. And whichever, I am not a sports person at all. So, but for the sake of being in the team, I picked up hockey, I picked up football. Of course, I used to play in village badminton. From there, I graduated to team sports, and so that is how my innings in the army got corrected. After joining as an apprentice, I qualified for the grant of commission, permanent commission, and then came out of the Indian Military Academy as a lieutenant in the Regiment of Artillery.
Okay, and yes, there were a lot of skills you picked up, and a lot of right attitudes to face life that you picked up. What about friendships that you made in that journey, Major Bhargava? Because I think such spaces where you are challenging yourself and sometimes you're alone, it's the people around you who are going through similar journeys with whom you make very special bonds. So any of those moments that still bring back smiles and tears together for you at IMA?
Oh yes, there are many of them, plenty of them. Of course, fortunately for us, most of us Still, we recently celebrated our 48th year of commissioning in the Indian Military Academy. What 90% of our batch assembled there, and we spent 3 days, glorious days, and then went through the memory lane. And some of them are here in Bangalore. We still keep meeting each other once in a while. Of course, WhatsApp, thanks to WhatsApp, we are in touch. We are a very close-knit group. And the moments we said, the moments, very, very unforgettable moments are both, the ones where, we were totally gone, down in the dump, and then we picked up from there and then proceeded ahead. And the other ones are in such circumstances also, humor never left us. So those things, I remember we in the jungle warfare camp in Dehradun, in the outskirts of Dehradun, there were huge jungles, and we were camping. And as soon as we entered the camp location, it started pouring down so badly. And we were required to establish our camp and then set down for the night. And also among ourselves, we were required to do the guard duty. Some of us, we take turns and then be alert. We are guarding the camp. So I was the platoon sergeant. I was required to ensure that everybody has pitched the camp properly, and I was required to oversee the layout. And also in the night, I was required to go around and then see whether the guards are alert or not. So when I was passing by from the bivouac, I heard a singing noise coming, and I said, who is this? When nobody can keep our eyes open, he is singing. Then I saw Subhash, gentleman created Subhash Eknath Rokle, leaning against the tree and then, holding his rifle and then whistling. What, Rokle, what is wrong with you? There is hardly any time for rest. 4 hours, why don't you sleep? Rest is. He said, no, if I sleep, then, the water will flow around over me. And there are so many leeches around. Leeches will eat me alive. So I thought I would just spend the time like this. So, my God. So he is able to keep awake, and then and in order to keep awake, he is whistling. So that set me thinking, my God, people can be like this also. That was one moment I can never forget. But unfortunately, Subhash Eknath Rokle is no more. He passed away in Aurangabad about a couple of years back. This is one of the rare moments. And of course, there were plenty of them. And, in the final last end of the term, we have a camp called Chindit's camp. So it is most grueling, very, very grueling camp. And then when we come back to the academy, taking a circuitous route through the mountains and jungles and all that, by the time we reach the outskirts of the Indian Military Academy campus, we are already gone, dead. So we pick up others, somebody is picking up somebody's haversack, somebody is picking up somebody's rifle, and we are literally dragging and then coming. So that is how, thick and thin, but we never leave a man behind. So this is what, makes us unique. So that is how, you must have heard, even in the latest, Kargil war, Pakistan left their men, left their dead. We never do that. So this is how we develop that bonding. This is how we develop those ethos.
That's very true, because many of the Kargil hero stories was all about carrying back their fellow comrades rather than leaving them behind. And in the process, hurting themselves, but just moving ahead, carrying the others. So life in the army, I know it was a long stint, but are there moments that you can share with us about life in the army, which still make you proud, make you feel that, okay, if I could do it then, and that has taught you how to face life as a civilian as well. So are there certain moments that you'd like to share with us?
I'm at a loss of words, lots of words here, Rashmi, because it is, the journey was definitely a long journey. And defining moments for myself, yes, my personal moment, there were quite a few, and I overcame that. And then there were certain there were certain incidents, where I played an important role. So I can recall a couple of them, one or two of them, at least two of them. One was when we were dispatched on a maneuver. I was leading the convoy of the guns, artillery guns. We had 6 guns with us and the detachment, and the whole convoy of about 34 vehicles. And when we were required to take a turn, and then we halted for a brief while to confirm we are going on the right track. So when the convoy halted, a gunner wanted to ensure that the gun is hooked and towed properly. And the convoy moved and he fell down and then came under the wheel of the gun. And it went over his right thigh. And the driver immediately halted the vehicle. And other vehicles also halted. And since the convoy was not moving, I took a U-turn and went back and saw this gun. This guy was caught under the gun wheel. So I managed to extricate him and then put him in my jeep. And then I asked my second in command to take the convoy ahead, and I went back to the camp. Thereafter, I had to take him to Jodhpur for hospitalization. And then on the way, he he breathed last. And thereafter, I had to take him for the postmortem. And then when the postmortem was done, I had to bring him back and then give him a proper cremation. So it was a very, very sad. At the same time, I took the lead and I did everything. I did all the running around, and my commanding officer and the entire unit left me alone for doing everything, to take care of everything. And after the cremation was over, everybody was in tears. And thereafter, we went back to our respective posts. And the commanding officer asked me to take the first shoot, make the guns fire for the first time. Now, we are known as observation OP officers. He said, Bhargava, you take the first shoot. Let your guns fire first. And the gunners who were with him, who had that loss, were, with all that tears and emotions, pent up emotions, they fired, and the firing was accurate, 100% on ground, on target. So this was an immemorable. This was an experience which I can never forget. So having gone through that grief, having gone through that tragedy, we did not forget our professionalism, and we did not, excuse ourselves from doing what we were required to do, what we were meant to do. So that is one. And another one was in 1984. We were moving from towards Bareilly to establish a roadblock for people who ran away from Sikh Regiment Center, and then they were rushing towards Amritsar because the Blue Star had just happened. So we were supposed to halt them, arrest them, and then take them into custody. While doing that, one of the officers of my team, his vehicle collided with a coal-laden lorry head-on, and the driver lost his consciousness, and this fellow was injured very badly. And I went back and I saw he was crouching and he was unconscious. So I just extricated him from the vehicle and held him like this. And I kept thinking, what happens? I had to rush him to the hospital. I held him like this in my arms. And then we rushed about 180 kilometers from the place to Bareilly Hospital. And then I still held him like this. And then he was taken into the emergency surgery. And the neurosurgeon was summoned from New Delhi. From Delhi, he was flown in by helicopter to Bareilly. And then his surgery was conducted around 6 o'clock in the morning. The accident took place around midnight, and by 6 o'clock, the surgery was done, and he was saved. His life was saved, and with great difficulty, he was able to get back the control of his limbs also, both the hands and legs. So this was the second one. They said, you are like an angel. Nobody would ever done that. How did you manage to hold him like that? How did you take the decision of saving him that way? You just forgot about everything and then you focused only on saving him. I said, he was so young, 23 years old boy. His father is fatherless. His younger brother and mother, both of them from Allahabad. What would they think that somebody who was able to give him some help, or help was not given? People were not responsive. That was one thing. And second thing is, I thought it is my primary duty to ensure that I should do whatever I can to help my fellow officer, my brother officer. So these two sad incidents happened. Otherwise, we had a very good training. And most importantly, Rashmi, here I want to tell you, I did not complete my full tenure. I took premature retirement for the simple reason that this was always on me, that I cannot be good in science subjects and technical subjects. So I was good in languages. So I had a flair for languages. In 1984, they called for volunteers to study foreign languages. So I applied for that and scored very high percentage in the entrance exam. So they decided that I could do well in Chinese language. So they selected me for doing an interpretation course in Chinese language. I did that in 86 and 87, 2 years course, and then qualified as an interpreter with first division marks, good percentage. And thereafter, I was picked up to be an interpreter for 4 years. I was an interpreter of Chinese language for 4 years. And then in the meantime, because of various other reasons, I could not continue in the services. I opted for retirement and then came out to the private sector. So this has been the journey of mine in the army.
Okay. When you say Chinese, there is Mandarin and there's Cantonese. So Mandarin is supposed to be really tough, and Chinese as a language itself is supposed to be way tougher than most languages in the world. And you said that you did really well. So right there, what is it about the Chinese language that makes it so difficult? Since you've studied the language, I'm just curious, Major Bhargava, what challenged you? Because they say in the Chinese language, there's no alphabet, it's words that you have to learn. And so this is only hearsay that I have read about or heard people talk. But since you've learned the language, if there is something that you want to tell us about your understanding of Chinese, what would you tell a person who's a little doubtful whether I can study Chinese because it's very tough?
Good question. Mandarin and Cantonese are two different forms of Chinese, traditional Chinese language. Mandarin is used in mainland China and Cantonese is used in Hong Kong. And the Mandarin is supposed to be the ancient Chinese language. And both, whether it is Mandarin or Chinese, both of them, Chinese language as such, are the toughest in the world. Like you said, they do not have an alphabet, they do not have letters, but they have something known as characters. They are based on strokes. There are 4 strokes. Using the strokes with the brush, they make characters. The characters look like pictures. It is pictorial representation of our word or it is symbolic representation. Japanese, Korean, all the 3 Oriental languages have similarity in terms of the characters, but their pronunciation, their language, their grammar, everything is totally different from each other. Yeah. And Chinese is the toughest. Chinese Mandarin has 2 forms. One is the new form, the other one is simplified form, the other one is the old form. So old form used to have some 64 strokes for a very complicated character, but the simplified Mandarin does not have so many strokes, so it is very easy to identify and remember. Because see, when I studied Chinese, even now, mastering 6,000 characters, matriculate, 20,000 characters, it is about a graduate, and it's more than that. And the best part is, it has a grammar, it has more exceptions than rules. So if the rule says the sentence has to be with subject, object, predicate, in one sentence, it can be broken, it can be modified, and without a subject, without a predicate, a sentence can be made. So more exceptions than rules. And another best beauty is the Chinese. Like they said, it doesn't have the alphabet. It is the order of characters. So it can be from the right to the left. It can be left to the right, like Urdu, Farsi. It can be from top to the bottom. It can be from bottom to the top. It is just, if you see one single line, vertical line in front of you, the sentence can start from here, it can start from here. Only thing is you have to pick up the cue from the key character. You have to identify the key character from which the sentence starts. Thereafter, you can translate or you can read the sentence. So apart from that, another peculiar feature about the Chinese characters is that they have a different combination of characters. Either one single character can give you the meaning of a whole paragraph, Or there could be a page full of characters of about 300 characters, giving the meaning of only one single sentence. So you have to have that, knack of understanding the flow of the arrangement of characters to extract meaning out of that. So that is how it is the toughest, not only to understand, not only to interpret. And the best part is when we translate from Mandarin to any other conventional language, we have to struggle to find an equivalent word. So that is the peculiarity of Chinese.
Major Bhargav, life in the armed forces is all about shifting, moving constantly in different parts of the country. So, looking back and talking about your personal life, how has this movement shaped Mrs. Bhargav and your son? And how has it helped you take decisions which are very crucial in your life? If you can take us through that. Was that also a reason why you came into civilian life?
Yes, Rashmi, that is the reason I took premature retirement. The question you asked me kind of, rewired all those joy dividends in my heart, and I recall the few days, initial few days which I spent after I left the army. I was doing well as a bachelor, enjoying life, and my family, that is my parents and my siblings, had absolutely no idea about my life, as to who I am, what I'm doing, what my routine is, what my life is, and what kind of situations I am exposed to, what kind of job I am doing. They were just thinking that he's in the army. That's it. Some kind of alliances, they started coming in, and my parents also called me up. They said, come down, we'll arrange a marriage for you. So none of them really worked out, and I was frustrated and I was about to go back. Then my sister's father-in-law in Malleshwaram thought that, look, this is a good boy, you should get a good match and you should be well settled with marriage up. Soon, should not be delayed. So immediately he sent across a word to my wife's place and arranged for a meeting. And the moment I saw the photograph, I said, look, this is the match. And I think we'll be good partners, life partners. So we had a meeting in my sister's place on the same day, and we decided to marry each other. And the parents also were more than happy. And that is how we got married. And her name is Lakshmi. She joined me. It took about 5 months for me to get even the engagement ceremony done and get married and all that. So 5 months later, we got married. And again, our marriage was also a kind of trendsetter. We didn't get married the way the traditional marriages take place. We wanted it to be simpler and different. So we got, those days, the trend had just started. We got married in Hotel Woodlands as per traditions, observing all the customs, traditions, and rituals only for half a day. All telescoped, and no party or hosting the reception after marriage. So that was a very bold step. Everybody, they said, see, what if we cannot come and attend your muhurta? Then we can come and greet you in the reception. I said, if you are really interested in attending my marriage, you come down in the morning. You take leave, half a day leave. Where is the problem? So that is how we got married, and we set a trend that does this. And Lakshmi didn't have any idea about what the defense services is. Her father was well aware of everything, and in fact, while she traveled with me from Bangalore to join me there, he had even given her a list of ranks in the army. He knew a lot about the army. He knew about the defense services. He was well read. So apart from that, and my youngest brother had he was kind of excited and awe-inspiring about my uniform and my passing out parade and all that, because he came to attend the passing out parade. Except for these 3-4 people didn't know much about that. So my wife came as a totally stranger to the army, but she fitted well in the circle and in the society of our army officers and wives and army children. We went on very well. So we had decided that we would settle down well after emotionally and otherwise all aspects. When they have a perfect bonding, we'll go for a child. So that is exactly what we did. And we waited for 2 years to have a child. A child was born. And again, like you asked me about separation, the first one was I got married, I got engaged, had to wait for 5 months to get married, to take leave and go. And then now my son was born 2 years later. And I had to wait for 5 months to go and take a look at my son for the first time. So these two were already there, even before our family life started. These were the kind of separation we had to face. I fell sick, very viral fever, then it became malaria, and it became dengue, complications with the liver. And I was hospitalized for a long time. And medical category, I was brought down in the medical category. And my son also developed chicken pox, and she was alone at home, and I was in the hospital. And the doctor said, instead of suffering at home, you also go to the hospital. Then you see, that is a system. Generally, mother is also allowed to go with the child to the hospital and get admitted. So they came to the hospital, and I got discharged from the hospital. I came home and I waited for them. So then we thought, this can't go on like this. We had to put an end to it. And I was recovering, and the life was terrible for me because nobody excused me from any duty. They expected me to be a part of everything of the routine. It was too much on me. On one hand, technically, I am not. There's no technical bent up. Though, of course, I was happy, tinkering with scooter, car, or radio, anything. But this technical subjects and studying, unless I study further, get higher, qualification, I can't have a good future in the army. So it was working on my mind. So I said, we'll leave the army as soon as possible. Then again, the question for this kind of job, what I have in the army, the kind of qualification I have, what an equivalent job would be in the civil. So that was again a worrying point. Then finally, what happened was a blessing in disguise. God's gift. The vacancy for officers to do foreign language course, they announced, and I opted for that. And when I opted for that, like I told you earlier, I did extremely well. I stood very high in the merit, and I was selected for Chinese language. So when I went to do Chinese language, I was allowed to take my family with me. We had a beautiful quarters there, very old European, British time bungalow, and we had a good, huge backyard, whatnot. My son was freaking out, and we had a very good time. 2 years was a golden period for us, and we really enjoyed our stay there. We gelled with the people, and we had good social life. And these 2 years in a hill station really did a lot to my health, and I recovered. And before the end of the course, I was re-examined, and I was found medically upgradable, and my medical category was upgraded. And since I did well on the course, I got the opportunity to serve as an interpreter. So the 4 years went by busy. I did 2 expeditions in the Himalayas. I took a detachment and then deployed on the Chinese border, and we do a lot of things there. So 2 years I did that. In the 4 years, twice I did that. And at the end of 4 years, I was transferred back to the artillery, to the unit where the families were not allowed. My son and wife had to come to Bangalore. So my son was brought, and he could join a good school, Sindhi High School in Nehru Nagar, and subsequently he started growing up and started missing me, and I started missing him. And in any case, I had bent upon taking early release. So perhaps 4 years later, so my son was already 7 or 8 years old now. I took premature retirement and came and settled down in Bangalore. So thereafter, my second innings started. But the most important thing is, all the time, my life was only for the sake of my wife and son. I was living and I was doing whatever I did. My existence was because of this. And my son was like sunshine in my life. He was so good. He was so nice, so active, so alert, and so naughty. And he would bring a smile on us just like that. So the day used to start with him cheering us up with his naughtiness, that kind of a thing. And my son studied for engineering, and then went to USA, and he has settled down there after his post-graduation in engineering and electronics, and specializing in embedded systems. And he also got married to another engineer girl, his choice, and they are settled down in USA. This is my family. And now Lakshmi continues to encourage me and then support me in whatever I told you, whatever setbacks I had, whatever disappointments I had. I used to come back and she used to give me a lot of encouragement. No, you can do it, you'll do well. So that is how, and she never expected me to spend time with her or for her. She always encouraged me to spend time in improving or enhancing my professional career and also do well in the job so that our life can be better. So that is how it went on. So it continued. Now I am happy that I am able to spend all the time with her.
Interesting. So there is Chinese, there is artillery, and all the other missions you were on. Now, when you moved from defense life to civilian life, what learning of all of these came with you and have been with you, have been useful to you? Have any of those glorious days that you had in different stints that you did influenced you in your decision making or in the roles that you played when you moved into civilian life? Was it easy for you to just shift back?
No, Rashmi, that was not at all easy. But looking back, things have changed so much that whatever I went through, the experiences I had may or may not be relevant or applicable for the present day situation. Because when I took the premature retirement and then wanted to take up a job in the private sector, the world was not ready to accept army officers in their fold. So they all thought that military wearing uniform best fit for security jobs. But I was lucky, I was fortunate that they were so nice. They waited for me for 6 months to join because there was a little delay in my getting released, and they accommodated me as the admin manager of their company. And then I started my first innings there. The learning was, very, very spectacular. Like you said, it was very difficult for me to reconcile with certain things. I won't say compromise, reconcile, and then accommodate certain vagaries and certain peculiarities, which are, the hallmark of civilian way of life and civilian way of doing things. Professionalism apart, being a little lethargic, being, a little easygoing, being a little flexible. That literally, it was against my nature, my character, and my ethos. So that is where I had to learn a lot to understand the psyche and then also the way of getting the things done. So it took some time. And again, that reluctance and some kind of reservation in the mind of the people around that, and then actually that led me to a very, very, disturbing situation for me, which made me do something which not many people do. And when I was the admin manager of the company, the MD thought that I can take over as the personnel manager. But the legal advisor suggested to him that he doesn't have a qualification. He is not qualified personnel manager. He doesn't have a postgraduate or a diploma in personnel management. So how can you appoint him? So that came in the way. Somehow nobody ever polluted my thoughts or my mind, but I came to know about that. So I resigned from the job and I went to the headhunter and who was getting talents for this company, and I met him. I said, on what basis have you? I have got this record track. He says, Major Saab, you are only used to wearing nice clothes and then waving a stick and then passing orders and expecting people to carry out your orders. Things won't work like that in the private sector. You cannot you cannot fit in this. Then I said, your point is that I do not have a diploma in the management, personnel management. If that be so, one day I'll make people study management by me. I did not tell him. Like I said, it was not in my nature to express whatever I felt. I came out of his office and then I had a job to go by, but then I did a lot of studies, despite being 45, 46 years old, I did a lot of private study. And when I was fairly well settled in the private sector, when people started noticing me, I got invited to do guest lectures in the business schools. And people noticed me that I can also express well, I can put across certain theory or certain concept quite well to the audience. So I was asked to teach a subject, management subject, which was industrial relations. So where I was not eligible to be a personal manager. And here I am teaching students of MBA and PGDM industrial relations. So there my academic journey started. And there was no looking back. And every time I received an invitation, it was for a different subject. So you can understand, in order to save my reputation, myself, embarrassment, I had to study thoroughly. And then I studied a large number of subjects for PGDM and MBA, which PTM and MBA students study. And thereafter, by the time I superannuated from my private sector job, I got invited by the promoters of ISBR Business School here to join as the director and take charge of the business school. And thereafter, they transformed me to ISBR and I retired from there. So that has been the journey in the private sector.
That's a very beautiful way in which you concluded your journey and made academics also such an integral part. I'm sure your students every one student of yours who has met you even once must be still in touch with you, inspired by your stories. We are in the last part of our conversation. If there are three, I'm sure there are innumerable, but if there are three life lessons that you would like to leave us with, which have stayed with you and will continue to, what would those three life lessons be?
We have to take life seriously.
Okay.
And have the ownership and responsibility for our actions. First thing. And second thing is there needs to be passion in everything that we do. If we do something for the sake of doing it or because we are required to do, it doesn't really help or it doesn't matter. So passion, doing anything and everything with passion and commitment. And third thing, maintaining good relationships. So these are the very important things, three things that at this point of time I've realized.
Wow. So take life seriously, have passion, and value relationships. What beautiful lessons, Major Bhargav. And all three are what soldiers normally show us. So I think once a soldier, always a soldier in life, because each one of us is fighting our own battles. And this attitude of the soldier to work on oneself and take oneself forward in order to make sure everyone behind you is safe, I think is something that all of us play in different roles in our lives. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your space, and your life with me on You and I with Rashmi Shetty. It's been an honor hosting you. God bless you. May you continue to inspire and be the beautiful human being you've always been. Thank you very much for giving us your time.
And continue to shine light and also bring out the best in the human beings and the fellow citizens so that the society takes some kind of, looks back and then gives it a thought. You are doing a wonderful job. Continue doing it and good luck. And thank you, Rashmi.
Thank you, Major Bhargava. Bye.
Bye.
With that, we come to the end of this weekly quest of You and I with Rashmi Shetty. Do let us know if you know people who make the world beautiful. Write in to rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. That is rashmi.thhirdeye@gmail.com. Come, let's explore this amazing world together, both you and I.